Welcome everybody to Show Blitz right now, and we're kicking things off right now. NFL free agency, and more particularly with the Chicago Bears. And this man right here, you see on my screen, join me right now. Relationship goes back a very long and special way. I'm talking about none other than Kenneth Davis. He is the host of the Undersider podcast, and with many contributions on NBC Sports Chicago, he is also the host of the That's Davis Show. You can check him out on all your social media neighborhoods coming to you and platforms. Ken, thank you very much. How are you doing, sir, these days?
I'm well, man. I have no complaints. I appreciate you having me on. A long time no see. How are you doing?
Not bad, man. Just right now, can't believe it's baseball week coming up already right now, and with the World Cup already wrapping up, here we are again right now, getting ready to warm up into the draft about less than a month away.
Yep, it's about that time of the year, man. So, it's a good time of the year to be on here talking a little football, talking a little sports, man. So, got to enjoy it when you can get to it.
No doubt. Well, just to recap, so far right now, the Bears, who have had quite a bit of cap space going into free agency, having 3-14 to finish off the 2021 season, which is one of their second worst records, which they've done multiple times in franchise history. Just to recap, they have spent over $25.85 million on the defense for this year's cap hit and about 17.92 on the offense, which includes $7 million invested in right guard Nate Davis, formerly of the Titans. Now, the Bears, for right now, they got 10 picks going to this year's draft, with four being in the top 64. Now, Ryan Poles does prefer that he intends to build for the draft despite their free agency spending period. But with the Bears already trading edge rusher this past during the season last year, shortly after they went 3-4, Robert Quinn for this year's fourth round, which is 133rd overall, and then dealing inside linebacker Roquan Smith, which they received a second round pick, which is the 53rd overall pick. And just recently, the Bears they traded out of the number one overall pick after they finished off the season this year, thanks to the Houston Texans defeating the Indianapolis Colts right now. They now,
Lovey, thanks to Lovey Smith. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Thanks to Lovey Smith. Get the Texas part. Thanks to Lovey because they
hey,
want him to lose.
no doubt about it. Hey, I guess you know what? At the same time, too, you know what? I will say this in fairness to Lovey Smith, that's still a tough pill to swallow right there. Because here's the thing that I scratch my head at. I get the number one overall pick. This is the draft. But at the same time, too, I think if you're in the top three, yellow alone top five, that is a pretty damn good spot to be in. And don't get me wrong, I mean, number one overall pick, you have the first crack ahead of like the food spread before everyone starts forming a line. But how can you not be good at number two? I just feel like right now, Lovie Smith, as a competitor, I mean, that goes on your resume as well and what kind of message you're saying to the team. Now,
Right.
here's what I wanted to ask you real quickly. I know you talked about this with many of your cohorts on your shows with Josh Schrock and everybody, and many people you've done with NBC. Do you feel like the Bears right now, looking back on hindsight, with the DJ Moore acquisition, because it seems like they're betting the farm on DJ Moore to sell the fact that it's okay to move out of the top three, yellow and top five spot to basically go to the top 10 right there. Do you think you're a little hesitant right now in hindsight that they may have still missed out like on the top players? Because I know right now they could be looking at either tackle protection for Justin Fields or you alone trying like edge or defensive tackles. What's your thought about that? Do you think they went a little bit too far to drop out? Do you prefer they would stay to the top three or five? How you recap it now? Yeah, a couple weeks to let this digest.
Initially, when everybody was like it was a haul, I felt like it's good. It's nice. I don't know if I will put the exclamation point after a haul, but but also it's because I'll say this. Let me take it back because you were talking about the first pick and the second pick. I think having the first pick is tremendous in this case because you don't know what team wants what quarterback, and also it helps that this is a quarterback draft now. It like if you look at last year where Kenny Pickett was the only, and you're a Steelers guy, Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett was the only quarterback to go in the first round. That wasn't the draft to have the first pick because who was coming? No one was coming up for a quarterback. Everyone thinks I can get a quarterback, I can solve all my problems. This is the remedy for everything, basically, right? So now we're in a really, you could say 4, but really let's say it's 3 as far as what we know will probably go in the top 4 or 5, and that's Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson from Florida, right? But if you look at it, and particularly the Bears, it helped them being number 1 because they don't need a quarterback, or they evaluated that none of the quarterbacks coming out now will be better than what they think they have in Justin Fields. So now they have a lottery ticket because they can move out and be basically like, okay, we're not going to take Will Anderson. They may not have taken Jalen Carter now, regardless if they stayed in the top 4 because of all the stuff that's going on with him and after that pro day, how poorly he performed. So I think it definitely is beneficial. Now, getting back to the trade, I wish, in my mind, and this is from me on the outside, not knowing what's happening on the inside. Ryan Poles knows this stuff. This is my opinion. I would have loved to see a double move, but really getting DJ Moore and solving an issue, because if you look at it, we were going into this offseason like the trenches need to be improved on both sides, the offensive line, the defensive line. You've done a little stuff with bringing in Nate Davis. And also, I guess now we're saying we're strengthening the left guard position because that's probably where Tevin Jenkins is going to necessarily be. Now you're talking about you have to solidify your right guard position unless they end up drafting someone like Paris Johnson at number 9, and then you move Braxton Jones from left to right and you stick Johnson at left. Now your offensive line, especially with Cody Whitehair now going back to center, got to worry about the exchanges a little bit. But now your offensive line is going from a weakness to maybe a strength, depending on the next leap that hopefully Braxton Jones takes with the faith that they placed in him. But one thing with DJ Moore is you had a situation where they were going to need offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, but this is prior to us knowing that they were going to go out and sign their linebackers. We knew outside of Jack Sanborn, and he's more of a depth guy, or Sam, that they needed to fill in the linebackers, particularly when you're running the Tampa 2. And you needed a receiver because your receivers weren't slotted correctly because you may not still have a clear number 2. So we were going to go into a draft where we had to draft a receiver in the top 2, the top couple of rounds, and then you're asking that receiver to basically be a stud. Now that's totally moved off. You have a nice wide receiver. I'm not saying he's the rarest of the elite, but he's nice to go in that room. You've given Justin Fields a guy that can get separation, huge catch radius, run after the catch. He's a nice receiver. So that we don't have to worry about receiver as much. And now you're sliding those receivers in a better place. You're helping everybody out, and including Cole Kmet. So for the trade, I like the trade, to be honest with you, because of the DJ Moore prospect. And I was going to say this too. If you had the number 2 pick, you don't know if you would have gotten DJ Moore, or if you decided that you wanted DJ Moore, you probably weren't going to get that second round pick in 2025. It would have just probably have been a first round pick next year, DJ Moore, and a second round pick perhaps next year. You may not have gotten that because now Carolina can pick whoever they want compared to whoever, let's say the Texans were number 1. The Texans may have taken their quarterback, and then Carolina may not place the same value on C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, depending on which way they want to go, and you may not have been able to get the assets that you got out of Carolina that the Bears achieved in that trade.
And I will say this, just to wrap up on the DJ Moore acquisition too, which kind of helps, puts a little fans at ease. But I'm hoping this thing could be like another Brandon Marshall situation like they did with Jay Cutler. But back to DJ Moore, I will give him credit with this. The man has produced, and you got to keep in mind too. Remember, at least like one good season he had Cam Newton, just one in his 5 seasons, because Cam Newton was pretty much
bad shoulder. With a bad shoulder.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. 2018 was pretty much his last year. And I think right around that time, shortly after they fought the Steelers in 2018, where they had that blowout game. But if you look at it, he's had multiple 1,000+ yards receiving yards with bad quarterbacks. Probably had one more decent one, and Teddy Bridgewater, who still had one last toothpaste in the bottle left to squeeze out, if you know what I'm saying. The only thing is I get a little concerned with is his touchdowns. He's only had 7 touchdowns and receiving yards. So my point is with that, I do feel like he's capable to help bring out a little extra out of Justin Fields. His body work does speak for itself in his defense.
Yeah, totally. And you give Justin a real threat now in intermediate and down the field, and perhaps it may help Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney playing lesser roles to a degree.
Once again, you can follow this special man right here. Join me here on Show Blitz today at That's Davis on Twitter and Instagram. Staying with Justin Fields real quick. I know he's taken some heat lately, and I was one of the biggest critics too. And I'm still kind of like a guy who's still have taken a while to be sold, kind of like with my guy Kenny Pickett, who's still got ways to go. But I'm sure you remember the quote this past February, like shortly after the Super Bowl was done. I hope we get a dome field set on Part of My Take podcast back at that point in time in February. I don't care if we're at Soldier Field. I don't care if we're at Arlington Heights. I hope we get a dome. It is very difficult to adjust to it, especially with the win, as he said via NBC5 Chicago. That's what I find out. That's what it's all about. It is the win. It can be cold. It can be 10 degrees, but with no wind, you're fine. But with that 15-mile-per-hour wind, that 20-mile-per wind, you can't fight. It's tough. Real quickly, as he continues to progress in his career, and you know the league has continues to try to do everything they can to make it a little bit safer. Are you a little like concerned about like where his focus is at right now? Because right now, too, because like the Bears, it's still undecided right now. You think it's inevitable they're going to move to Arlington Park, Arlington Heights, excuse me, to build like a new stadium in the old
It's
racetrack.
Park. It's
Yeah,
Park. It's Arlington Park. Yeah.
yeah, and
Um,
there's hesitation still by McCaskey. They still got to analyze a few more things, but or they're going to stay in Soldier Field. I think more than likely, 9 times out of 10, they're going to play indoors regardless of the location. What's your pushback or where do you feel like on the quote so right now?
I
Because
don't.
I do
I don't care. I don't like it. Doesn't why it doesn't bother me. They're going to play in a stadium.
right,
I mean, they're going to play in a dome anyway. He's basically saying that I want to take out the elements. He's being honest. It doesn't bother me at all. They're not going to play. So look, I love Soldier Field as far as because I've grown up watching the Bears
right.
play there. I drive past it anytime I'm going. I live close to the lakeshore, so I drive past it often. I'll miss the Bears playing there. But the one thing that's funny, usually, especially Bears fans, Chicago fans, we're fanatics and we don't like change, particularly something that we love. And nobody cares as much now because we kind of understand that it's terrible that the McCaskies don't get enough money. Now they're not putting the product out that necessarily should get them the money. But as far as owning your own stadium, I've always said if I owned the Bears, I would have been on Soldier Field. Like me and the city would have had to come to some agreement, or we were moving because it's too much money that you're leaving on the table. But as far as first of all, do not put Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett in the same on the same level. We're gonna have to separate that a little bit. But
No,
no, it's I don't.
I'm just.
It doesn't. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm
Oh
joking.
no, it's okay.
But the quote doesn't bother me, Chuck. I'm not like, oh man, he's weak, he's soft, he doesn't want to play outside. He's telling us his preference. You know what I'm saying? And also, I think this too, particularly somebody like him, you got to remember he's from the South. All right. I think we take for granted how windy it gets there, right there coming off the lake. You're a Steelers fan, right there,
Well,
at Three
even though Ohio
Rivers.
State, when he was playing in college, he was also playing cold weather
I'm
conditions
not. Yeah,
even during this 2 year period.
yeah, totally. I'm not. Again, I'm just saying he's listing his preference.
Right.
And does it bother me? And no, it doesn't bother me. Perhaps if you're going to say, well, why let someone know that you prefer that because down the line
Right.
someone could use it against you? It still would bother him. He just wouldn't let us know about it or whatever. But no, it doesn't. I don't. It doesn't really matter to me what Justin says. I think Justin is a really smart young man. I think he's confident. I think he's a hard worker. I hope he puts it all together. I predicted before the Bears drafted him that they were going to do whatever they need to do to get him. And I'm always, at this point, I'm still happy that the Bears selected Justin Fields. So I have no problem with what he said.
Double Clay question real quick on these two areas right now. Number one, Justin Fields. I mean, the Bears do seem right now that they want to like keep him as their future, even though we have not heard them definitively say if he is going to be our guy, slam door shut. Do you feel like A, it's fair for Justin Fields? Because I said this to many people right now, going into his third season right now, I think he has to at least pass in the passing game, show some improvement between 3,000, 3,500 yards passing. The running's great, but I think at some point, because this is still a rookie contract, he's got that luxury of having the fifth year option being picked up. Do you think it's fair we should at least try at least see minimum 3,000 yards passing? And B, where's the Bears' future? Do they remain in Soldier Field, or is it inevitable they go Arlington?
I'm with you. We talked about bringing in DJ Moore. That's 1,000 yards right there, right? The connection we saw with
Setting the
Cole
bar,
Kmet
basically.
grow. Yeah. So Justin won, and okay, I'm a Justin fan. He has to get rid of the ball. He has to get rid of the ball, and he has to remember that he's so dynamic. He has to live to fight another day. You can do this 3 and out, and dude, the next series you can break one run and pick up 40, 50, 60 yards, and you're right back in the ball game. You're that dynamic. Let alone we haven't even seen your arm talent in the pros consistently. He has to he has to decipher what's going on quicker and get rid of the ball and throw the ball away at times. So yeah, 3,000 yards passing the next season. I don't think that's correct. You're asking a lot of him. That's not a high bar. 35, then we may have to talk a little bit. Now, I'm only also saying that because we still don't know how the other, like, okay, we're saying DJ Moore and Justin gonna have a connection. We didn't see Darnell Mooney and Justin really connect last year. Chase Claypool definitely didn't connect. You damn Steelers. So, and now getting to the Arlington Heights thing, the Bears are gone. Like, the Bears are not buying that like it's not even a thing. Like, even let's just say, like, in my heart of hearts, be like, well, maybe the Bears just bought it and they'll build something else out there. Why wouldn't they make the anchor of that the Bears? I mean, because you're already building more wealth because people are going to be coming to whatever you build out there, your shops, your restaurants, your hotels, your casino. They're going to come up there and they're going to have it where every other Sunday, basically, they can do that after they come or they spend the night. So why not plant the Bears there on the stadium? Also, you open yourself up to all the Big Ten stuff now. You know, where all the different things that you can't do that at Soldier Field, right? So they're gone. It's not even a question. They did not hire Kevin Warren from the Big Ten to come here and retrofit Soldier Field one more time. And he did get this too, Chuck. He didn't come here to do that. He came here to do something similar to what they did in Minnesota with the stadium that they built up there, the dome that they built up there. They're going to Arlington Park. It's a wrap. The real discussion is when will they get out of the contract with how much they'll owe the city with the lease. You know, because they're not going to stay for the remainder of the lease. It may be another 5 years, 4 to 5 years, or whatever. As far as being at Soldier Field, they're not going to stay for the remainder. Once, like after this year, we're going to know probably when shovels are going in the dirt.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the Minnesota Vikings. You also got to remember too, they also got a long-standing history aside from US Bank Stadium too. Don't forget, before they went to the Metrodome too, once upon a time, they played outdoors for a long period of their history. I believe it was at Metropolitan Stadium. That was outdoors, and they saw the vision even then before they went into the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome, where I mean, just think about that A styles football, where it was all about defense, running the ball, having a solid passing game along the way. I think they saw the vision a long time ago, long before they got to US Bank Stadium. So that's tell you right there. I mean, for a team that does not have any Super Bowls, but still an all-around successful football franchise as far as staying competitive and playoff worthy to make a shot. So I mean,
I
just
mean,
just think about that for a second. Let that sink in
you
for
got
Bears fans, people in the NFL.
you got to think about this. It's funny. I talk to my friends on the East Coast that have lived here, and they're
Right,
like, "It's cold." I was like, "Is it Chicago cold?" They're like, "No." I try to tell people here it's not. They don't know cold.
right,
Minnesota knows Chicago cold. They know a different type of cold maybe than we know.
right.
And of course, so of them going into in the 80s, going into a stadium, a team with the purple people eaters who played outside decided, yo, forget this advantage of the weather. All right,
Exactly.
we're going inside, and we can also do more things. Let's not forget the Twins played there too.
Yep.
All right, so no, it's just it makes sense, you know, and we can all think back with nostalgia about, yo, remember back in the day. I'm always gonna remember I think the Bears facing the Rams in like the NFC Championship game,
Right.
and it started to snow in the second half, and Wilbur Marshall like picks up a
Yep.
fumble or something, and he's running. I can't remember who the other two Bears on the side of him. He's looking back. He has that neck collar. I'm
Right.
I'm going to always remember that, but times change, and like I said, it's weird that we all accept it because usually people who are in Chicago be like, no, it's our way. We like it like that. And but it's kind of like we realize the business. We really, you know what? We know a lot more about the business of sports than fans did in the past. We have a lot more information about the business of sports, and we all kind of know the stadium situation with the Bears, as far as business wise, is not one that's beneficial to the team and ownership. Not to say that we should really care, but hopefully we hope that some of that money funnels down into the team. Also, and it creates a better stadium experience for us.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I would also say don't forget to make room and some love for the '06 Bears too, when they got pissed off at Reggie Bush for celebrating in the end zone
Yeah,
right
the
there.
flip.
And they put that defensive beat down in the second half to run away with the NFC Championship game. And Byron Urlacher holding the NFC Championship game in the snow. That's another good snow
Yeah,
memory. You know, did not translate into the Super Bowl victory, unfortunately. But if you think of Soldier Field, that's another moment to add up to the top right there.
definitely.
So, going into the draft right now, so I got my mock draft right now for like at least the top 100 picks. I'm not going to do the full 10 picks, but here's what I got right now. Let me know if you agree or disagree. What would you tweak? So, this is what I would do. Number 9, I will take my chance. I will go with defensive tackle Jalen Carter. He's got a grade right now to be like a starter, like right now. I mean, for this year. I mean, when you look at him, I know he's has issues with the drag racing right now. He got in trouble for. He didn't do enough, like in his pro day workout, this combine, but he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. And I think in today's league, when you think of like social justice, a lot of issues right now, I think he's still got enough time to get counseling right there. I don't think you should like shade the guy out like that. I would take my chance, roll dice on him. 53rd overall pick. I'll take a page out of the Bengals book, but a different position. I need good car insurance for my quarterback, Justin Fields, right now. And what I would do, I would reunite him with Ohio State, Paris Johnson right now. Still got a good grade right now, 6.39, eventual starter. Sixth first overall, with
Wait,
their
let's do the first two. Let's just do the first two real quick before, because
yeah,
I was Will and okay when the Bears had the first pick, I still wanted
right.
them to go Will Anderson. I wasn't the Jalen Carter guy, but I figured if the Bears made the move with the Colts and falling to 4, that they were probably going to take Jalen Carter. So I basically accepted it that now I want Jalen Carter, right? So, but this is the
Quality
thing,
players still matters.
Ryan Poles did come out and said, basically, I don't think they're going to take Jalen Carter. I think there's still a chance. But he came out the other day when asked about Jalen Carter and said that if they had more veterans and the program was further down the line, that they would probably make a move like that because they feel like the locker room could take care of the young man, but they're not there yet. And I mean, he said that. Now he could be that could be a smoke signal so that teams will think the Bears won't do it. And if he falls to them, they'll take him. But Paris Johnson isn't going to be there at 54. Chuck, Paris Johnson may be the first tackle. It may not be Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern. Paris Johnson is going in the first round. So one of the things that we've talked about on the Under Center podcast is make sure you check out the Under Center podcast
I love following it.
every Wednesday on NBC Sports at 5:30 p.m. So wherever you watch your Bulls, Sox, Blackhawks, it's on there and it runs repeatedly. So make sure you check it out. But Josh came up with a bracket. And in the bracket at the end, it was Jalen Carter and Paris Johnson. And we went with Paris Johnson because at this point, the blue chip factor with both of them, you got more of a clean slate with Paris Johnson than worrying about will wealth also intensify some of the problems that you have with Jalen Carter. So that I just wanted to put that right there and now say in the second round to get to your point. So let's just say hypothetically, if I'm saying, I mean, I want Jalen Carter, but let's just say if they take Paris Johnson, I would think in the second round, you're looking at one of these twitchy edge rushers probably is what they're probably going to go after. Also, I'll say this too. Now this will be kind of high, but I'm a Nolan Smith guy, and if they took Nolan Smith at 9, man, it may be an over slot right there, but I take that over slot 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and Nolan Smith, believe it or not, he's like my last pick. I got him going at 64 right now, outside linebacker. Because after Paris Johnson, I got inside linebacker too. After losing guys like Roquan Smith and the other guy, I believe it was Pearson. Why not go with inside linebacker out of Clemson with your 61st overall pick, Trenton Simpson, and then, like I said, I will end up with Nolan Smith. That'd be my mock draft right there, Garrett, once again. So for me, I got defensive tackle Jalen Carter, followed by tackle Paris Johnson, inside linebacker Trenton Simpson, and outside linebacker Nolan Smith. I mean, the Bears, I mean, according your guy, Josh, they definitely need to hit on this draft real quick. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Real quickly, AFC and NFC, who's been the biggest surprise signings real quickly? Because right now you got Derek Carr leading the way as far as guaranteed money signed this offseason. He has 100 million, followed by he signed with the Saints. Chiefs right tackle who resigns with the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions, Jawan Taylor at 60 million. Broncos right tackle Mike McGlinchey at 50. Bears inside linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, $50 million. He's the third highest player at his position with 18 million. And Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo at 45 million. Real quick at AFC and NFC.
It's got to be AFC when you're talking about Mike McGlinchey getting that much money from the Broncos to play right tackle, and then when you're talking about Orlando Brown Jr., which Kansas City baby goat, I love it. Deciding, you know what, we're going to let you go, and then we're going to take this young athletic right tackle and we're going to flip him and put him at left because we think he fits left because we kind of believe, like the Ravens, that you're more of a right tackle. So I think it's definitely it's a toss up between. I would go with the Chiefs first because you're talking about a team that won the Super Bowl and how they lost Tyreek Hill last year and everyone thought that it was going to be a down year to a degree, losing such a dynamic receiver. And now you fix this line and then you let one of your mainstays at the line go and you brought in another player. So I'll go with Kansas City, but Mike McGlinchey, that's a lot of money for right tackle, man. That's my right tackles are making that type of bread, man. It must be nice out there.
And last but not least, Kev, I appreciate you doing this. I gotta ask you a popular question. Since you did mention Steelers, we are talking Bears. I don't want to hear no excuse. I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire in this one. I don't want to hear no Chuck. They play in two different eras. I want to know who's the best. No linebacker. You know where I'm going with this. Who would you take? I got my answer. Well, here you go first. Dick Buckus or Jack Lambert, greatest middle linebacker of all time. Go, Kev.
Dick Buckus. I know what Lambert played on a broken leg. Is that part of the history of Lambert? Dog, look at the interceptions. Like the thing we think about when you talk about a Dick Buckus, we think about him being a one-dimensional run stopper. And they weren't even passing the ball like that. I think Dick Buckus may have like he has double-digit interceptions at least, right? So
Right.
I'm going with also went to high school like not too far away from me. I didn't go to the high school, but went to CVS, like went to the U of I. I'm taking Dick Buckus on. Also, real quick, to this evening, but even it comes back on, we have you missed this guy. We have Mike Singletary on talking about Hall of Fame
Right.
linebackers on. So make sure you check out our interview with Bears Hall of Fame inside linebacker Mike Singletary. At the end of, I did ask him a question similar to this at the end as far as ranking the Bears all-time linebackers. So check out to see what happened with that. But yeah, I'm going Dick Buckus all day. It's not even a question.
Surprisingly, I'm gonna have to go with you, and the only reason why I would choose Dick Buckus, Jack Lambert had a lot more talent around him. When you think of guys like
Yep.
Jack Ham, Andy Russell, he was just as
Mean
good.
Joe
But
Green.
exactly, and the steel Kurt right there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Ernie Holmes and Dwight White. Pretty much most guys who died, he's just sole surviving member, Joe Green. But the reason why Buckus did more with less, his tenacity, and plus his love of the game of football too. The way he went out there, despite not going to a playoff. But I mean, he also did slightly more in lesser years comparative to Jack Lambert. I'm gonna still be a Jack Lambert guy, but at the end of the day, I gotta be honest. I probably have to give the tiebreaker to Dick Buckus. Ken, I wanted to say this was fun. Thank you very much. Definitely want to check out that interview you heard right here. Make sure to check them out. Understar Podcast, NBC Sports, or YouTube channel. You can follow this man at That's Davis. Anything else you want to add before we close out here, Ken?
Nope. Just make sure you watch us on television at 5:30. Subscribe wherever, as Chuck just said. You can find us on YouTube. Always appreciate anybody taking a little bit of time, and I appreciate you, Chuck, for having me on today.
Likewise, my man. Well, like I said, we always go back a long way. Continued success and blessings to you and your family, and continue to stay safe out here while we're in the city of Chicago right here. Be interesting to see what this election turns out right now. We're coming up down to the nitty gritty pretty shortly. All right, my man.
Back
Well,
at you.
thank you very much, guys. This is going to do it for this edition here of Show Blitz with me, Charles Rodriguez. You can follow me on Steel CGR on Twitter and at Steel Nation on Instagram. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. We gone. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you for watching the Mass Steel podcast with your host, Charles Praj Ritchie, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mass Steel podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.